your body is a home. We are all, these spirits, we are all energy having human experiences. So depending on the experience you want to have, depending on the vessel you want to be in, the home that you're creating, you choose how you want to decorate it. And based on how you decorate it, it's going to most likely impact how you show up to an extent. Get in, losers. We're going lifting. Lifting heavy weights does not automatically make a woman look bulky. But one thing it absolutely does is command respect and make other people know that bitch works freaking hard. I went out to karaoke for my birthday, and if you're wondering, what did she sing? I sang Pink Pony Club by Chappell Roan and Defying Gravity. Yes, and I freaking slayed it, along with the 40 bachelorettes that were coming in for party time in Scottsdale, Arizona. Anyways, this woman comes up to me. She's like late 50s, early 60s, and she says, "Wow, I can tell you work really hard." And I'm just there, in this little bandage dress. I haven't said anything to her, but she can just tell based on the shape of my body that I work hard. And you know what? Yeah, I do. And I love that. And I love that she paired with the way I look that she works hard. Now, I want to make it really clear that looking a particular way doesn't, necessarily automatically make that apparent. Some people are just blessed with really good genetics. There's other people who lift and work really hard, but maybe they have more body fat on their body for, whatever reason. And it doesn't translate that way in that moment. But it really is a cool feeling to know that you do work hard. You've taken time to put on muscle, and somebody can come up to you and just notice that. It feels really good. And it's one of those things that I don't know if everybody always pieces together, that based on the way your body looks, it does tell a story. It can tell a good story, it can tell a bad story, but it does tell a story before you ever open your mouth. So I think one of the questions to ask yourself is, well, what story do I want my body to tell? And so I ask you, what story do you want your body to tell? And I think for some people, it's like, I'm telling a story where I'm, on my journey, and it's not fully giving what it is I wanted to give off yet, but I know it's coming. I mean, I even remember thinking back to my surplus last year. I remember thinking, like, I can't wait till my body looks the way I've been envisioning it to look. And I remember taking videos of myself that at the end of the surplus. I had this conversation with a girlfriend the other day. She was like, "How did you know you were going to look so defined, almost a year after having put on all of that weight?" And I was just like, "Because it's science. Because I know that this is what I want." She was like, "But you just took video of yourself." And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "And then you took another video, almost a year later. You just knew that was going to happen." And I was like, "Yeah." And she was shocked. I love when I'm on social media and I see people, showing videos like that, where it's like your body used to look one way and now it looks a different way, whether it's, a weight loss journey, it's been body recomp, it's those girls who are going from, skinny to muscle mommy status. It's so cool to me to see that somebody was at the point of, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put in the work, and eventually I'm going to look different, and just trusting that the process is going to lead them to where it is they want to go. And then you get to this point where it's like, I'm here. I got to where I want to be. And then people just, they see you. And I mean, I don't know if everybody sees me differently, but I do I do know that one of the common themes that comes up when I have conversation with people, be it on social media or in person, and they see what I've done to my body over the years is, wow, if Colleen says she's going to do something, then Colleen gets it done. And I love that. I love that that is just part of who I am, that people can trust, if she says she's going to do it, she's going to do it. And I don't think that's necessarily what everybody else wants to be, tied to. But for me, it does feel good. And I would imagine for a lot of people, it's like, yeah, the story that my body gets to tell, it feels good to be seen in a particular way. It feels good to be seen as strong. It feels good to be seen as, sexy. Sexy is like a little bit of a harder one to describe because I think so many people see sexy in different ways. Just like talking about sexy in general. I remember when I first got started with kettlebells, I was interviewed to do this article for Dragon Door. And the person who interviewed me was like, how to be sexy with kettlebells. And at the time I was just like, I can't own the word sexy. I was, this 20-something-year-old woman, but I remember feeling more like a girl. Like, I don't know. I wasn't ready for the word sexy to be tied to me. But being at this point where I can feel strong, I can feel connected to my sensuality. I can own a word like sexy. It feels really good. And that's one of the things that we all have control over, whether we feel like our body is really telling the story that we're trying to tell in this moment, or knowing that I'm working towards my body being able to tell a story that I want to be, connected to. And something else with that, I think when we show up in a particular way and we're noticing people kind of responding in a certain way, like that woman having the conversation with me and piecing together like, wow, you must work really hard. It definitely set this tone that, okay, well, she sees me this way and it feels, really good to respond in a particular way. Whereas, I've been in other situations where people might make other comments where the reaction out of me is then a little bit different than feeling like, oh, she sees me as, hardworking and disciplined. Whereas if somebody makes a different type of comment, that might not be, I might then energetically show up a little bit differently. I remember when she said that to me, it almost made me feel like I wanted to rise even higher. I tend to go into spaces as open as I can be. And not every space, but if I want to bring all eyes on me, I know that the best way to do that is to stand proud, to open my chest, to be this calm, powerful essence where I move slowly. I want to be seen, and it draws people to me in a way that is different than if I walk into the space and my arms are closed and my shoulders are rolled and I'm slouching. It's just like a different energy. It's a different vibe, and people see you differently based on how you're presenting. And when you get to present not just as open, not just as proud, but you also then see the definition. It's like, oh my gosh, who is that? There was a woman that I remember walking into a room a number of years back, and there was something so regal about her. And I feel like after watching her command this space, I just started thinking to myself, like, I want that. And not from a place of like comparing, but seeing like, wow, look at what that presence can do. She looks so strong. It's like, it's definitely giving like warrior goddess vibes. Like, how do I become that? And part of it is, doing the work of building that muscle, but then also having that presence of this calmness, this ability to be present, to be in the body, to stay open, to embrace the feminine. It makes people interact with you differently. I was recently at this event with a bunch of strangers, and I noticed as we were all talking to each other that a lot of people ended up wanting to talk to me. And I'm thinking to myself, well, why are they not talking to that person next to me or the other one next to me? Everybody seems to be, open to an extent. But I think there's something to be said about, why are they not talking to this person or that person? And I think a lot of it comes down to not so much about how somebody necessarily looks, but how somebody is energetically showing up. And for me, having these muscles on my body, it's not so much about the muscles, but it's what the muscles represent. For me, it is the hard work. It's the dedication. It's reminding myself that you can achieve things that are not, that you're not born with. I had to work for these muscles. It's unlike, the thigh gap where it's like, yeah, you're either born with it or you're not. It's just one of those things that you can't necessarily earn. Muscles you have to earn. There's no implants for muscles. Like, you either take the time to build them and reveal them or you don't. And that has been something that has really just like played into my own personal confidence in terms of how I can show up in a space and just own who I be and own the combination of the masculine and the feminine that is in me and who I be. And I think for some people, it's like, they see when you're really focused on aesthetics, like it's super vain or like you must be obsessive. And I don't see it that way at all. We all get one body. We all get one life. The same way as, if you're lucky enough to have a home, to own a house, to own something, you decorate it the way you want it to be, where you feel like amazing inside, right? Like I watched what's the documentary? Lisa Frank. You remember Lisa Frank? She was the one who made all of those cute, like, back to school supplies in the 90s. It was like the sparkly cheetahs and the pink ponies. And do you know what I'm talking about, Lisa Frank? So I watched this documentary and there was this woman who created her home to kind of look like, Lisa Frank threw up everywhere. And I say that in like the kindest way possible because I love Lisa Frank's, like, the aesthetic. But she created this home that was unlike what I would imagine is home for most people. And that's where she lives. So how does she want to feel in that space? Inspired, happy, safe, whatever she's vibing. For me, getting to be in my body, I want to feel strong. I want to feel confident. I want to feel capable. I want to be able to embrace my sensuality. I want to feel all of these different things. And it's all in my capacity based on, how I choose to train, how I choose to eat. Like, I don't see it as a vain thing. And, if somebody wants to come into the comments and be like, well, no, it is vain to have an aesthetic goal, then okay, I'm not going to fight you on it. But I don't see it in that capacity. I see it as you get to create the home that you want to live in. Your body is a home. We are all, these spirits, we are all energy having human experiences. So depending on the experience you want to have, depending on the vessel you want to be in, the home that you're creating, you choose how you want to decorate it. And based on how you decorate it, it's going to most likely impact how you show up to an extent. Honestly, the only time I think having aesthetic goals turns into a bad thing is when you get obsessed over it, like to the point where it's impacting everything that you do. When I had an eating disorder in my teens, it was so bad at times where it was just like, I can't go to school if I didn't work out already. I can't do this if I didn't, already do like 100 sit-ups. When we start to get paralyzed because of an obsession, like, that's when things start to get murky and dark and bad. But like, if you want definition, if you want a six pack, if you want like a really big bodacious booty, like whatever the aesthetic goal is, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything toxic about it. I think it all comes down to, well, how are you going about it? And why do you want that in the first place? Anytime you're doing something because you think it's going to make other people like you, respect you, it's going to make you have more worth, I think those are all things that you need to question. Is that really a good reason to put yourself through the ringer in terms of some type of a transformation? I don't know. I mean, that's like a deeper thing for us to have a conversation about face to face. But I think when you're doing stuff because, it's just what you want, Like, there's not always an explanation as to why do I want a blue cheetah print couch? Because I like blue cheetah print. Why do you want a six pack? Because I think it would be pretty fucking cool to have a six pack. Like, some things don't need this really deep explanation. It's just like, this is just what I want. So I'm going to go get the thing that I want if it's in my power and control to go and get it. You know, listen, not everybody has the time to dedicate to training, tracking macros, you know, rewiring the way their mind works around fitness and nutrition. But if you do have the capacity to invest in something like that, and you do want to change how you look, and you can do it with a healthy approach that is not obsessive or toxic, then, you know, go off and create the body that you dream of. And I guess the other thing to kind of just like say is, and I guess the other thing that's worth even bringing up right now is just because people necessarily look a particular way. Like, I know plenty of people who have six packs, and I'm just like, you are so unhealthy. Like, the way you're going about it doesn't necessarily mean healthy. And that can go for bodies looking in all different shapes and sizes. Like, it was really nice to receive that comment from that woman. But I remember I've also had times in life where I would be complimented on, wow, you're so dedicated. You work out before school. And meanwhile, you know, I had an eating disorder behind the scenes. So I think when it comes to a topic like this, it really can be kind of gray. It's not necessarily a black and white, but to an extent, your body does tell a story. And that doesn't necessarily mean the story is the truth, but it doesn't dismiss that when you walk into a room, people are going to come up with preconceived notions based on how you are presenting yourself. So then it kind of comes back to you as to, well, what do you want your body to say? And then how do you actually want to say that? And that second part is more coming from a place of internally, like, do you want to have the definition and on the inside, no, I'm doing this from like a really healthy and beautiful place? Or do you want to look that way and know deep down, like, I'm miserable. I don't know how much longer I can sustain this. This is terrible. Because again, just because you look a particular way doesn't mean you are going about it in a healthy way. But it's also not to say that, like, just because you have this defined body that, like, it must be unhealthy. And that's just like something to keep in mind, not just about like super defined bodies, but bodies of all different shapes and sizes. I mean, I know plenty of people, and it's like you are in a bigger body, and maybe you have some really unhealthy habits, or maybe you're in a bigger body because something big just happened. Like, maybe, like, I have plenty of girlfriends. I'm just like, you just had a baby. Like, obviously your body is going to look different than it did prior to going through this life-changing event. You know, when you walk into the room, your body tells a story. You know how you got there, but you get a choice in terms of what it is you want to tell. So as we get ready to go into this upcoming year, if you do have aesthetic goals, if you do want to change the home that your, you know, essence is inside of, you can, and you don't have to feel bad about it. And you get to choose the approach that you want to take. And based on that, you're probably going to show up in a different way in comparison to somebody else who's taking a different approach. I mean, listen, when I was in my skinny days, like, and I don't even feel good about like using that as a comparison, but I don't even really feel good using that as a comparison. But like, I think sometimes people look at me and they're just like, you're skinny. There is a difference between when I was skinny versus me being lean with muscle and having the strength that I have now. Like, so different, and not just different in terms of like having the muscle and having the strength, but in terms of how I showed up. Like, I'm at this point where I'm so confident in my body. I love being seen. Like, if I could just run around in my underwear all day, I probably would. I love being seen. I love the body that I've created. But, you know, when I was in my skinny days, I wanted to hide. I wanted to live in a big sweatshirt. Like, for me, it had nothing to do with, you know, okay, well, I'm smaller, so I must be more confident. When I was my smallest, I was probably my least confident. And then when I went into, my surplus, and I've never been somebody who's been in a bigger body that has not been at a healthy standard. So like when I talk about being in my surplus, I do want to make it clear that like I understand that was not a unhealthy size to be at. It was still a healthy body, but I was still like running around in a thong bikini at that point in time. Your size doesn't dictate the energy that you show up in. That's really what I'm trying to express with this. But how you get there and the approach that you take, it can energetically change how you show up in a space. Again, skinny me, she wanted to hide. Me at the end of my surplus still wanted to be seen. Me finally achieving the aesthetic that I've been, going after for so many years. It's like, I'm here. I want to be seen. So confident, not because I'm receiving validation from anyone other than myself, because I created the home that I wanted to live in and I did it the right way. And it's always so interesting when people kind of see the different versions of my body, not so much like the skinny version. I feel like other people who have like actually gone from skinny to strong, like they get that, they see that, they respect that, like that transformation. But I get a fair amount of comments when I showed the difference between me at the end of my surplus versus me now, where people just like make these comments like, oh my gosh, you were so beautiful. Or like, I would have killed to have a body like that. Or, what did you do? Like, you lost your ass. And I'm just like, I mean, I've actually built a bigger ass. If you see like the comparison pictures of me before the surplus to ending the surplus with the cut and reverse dieting, my ass has gotten bigger. The muscle increased. It's the body fat that's changed. But it's interesting to just kind of see how people perceive what you do. And, some people, they don't like a leaner defined body. Other people, like, they want something bigger, and then it can flip for other people. And that's why it's just so important to not let other people dictate what it is you want to do with your body, because so many people see things differently. Some people do think bigger is more beautiful than smaller. And it's not to say that one is better than the other. It's that, vanilla chocolate strawberry, like there's something out there for everybody. And it just comes back to, what flavor do you enjoy and what flavor do you want to live in? What do you want your home to look like, So you have to be honest with yourself in terms of, what do I want? And realize that it's going to tell a story to other people. And there's a lot of control that you have in all of that. So as we wrap this up, I just want to reinforce one more time. You build the home that you want to live in. Are you happy with what you currently have, or do you want to do a little remodeling? And if you need a little support with that remodeling job, you know where to find me. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Dangerous Woman podcast. I'm your host, Colleen Conlon. Make sure to leave us a rating and review so you never miss an episode. Follow us on YouTube. We are working on lives, shorts, and more for that page. So make sure to subscribe so you see what is happening in 2026.